Hiya, I'm Jasmine Hunt and I'm a Director of Safe Lock Systems Limited. I'm here today to talk about the new range of safe locks from GARD, the 700 series. This is going to be a little bit of a comparison with the old locks, and we're going to focus a little bit on the 702 model in particular. As you may be aware, the current GARD range has been around for over 20 years and it hasn't really changed much in that time. There's been a few tweaks here and there, but there's not really been any development, so we're very excited about the new range that's coming. It will be discontinued in 2022. We're not sure exactly when, but probably the early part of the year. Obviously, we hope to hold quite a lot of stock so that we've got replacement options, but that will also have a time limit on it as well, so that's something to bear in mind. In case you need a reminder, here are the 5 locks that are in the current GARD range, and the new 700 series also has 5 locks, but we're expecting that only 1 or 2 are going to cover most of the needs of customers that were previously purchasing GARD locks. I'm going to skip on from this page quite quickly because it's obviously quite a lot of information to take in all at once, but please feel free to pause if you need to. So for a quick comparison, if you were previously purchasing the GARD Basic, you'd now buy a 701. If you previously wanted a 39E, a 66E or a Supra lock, the 702 lock covers all of the features on those locks. And if you previously wanted a TL11, the 704 lock will now cover those requirements. So we think this is one of the major benefits of the new 700 series is the consolidation of features from the 39E, the 66E and the Supra down to just one lock system, and that's the 702. So for example, the 702 has a master, a manager, 28 users, time delay, a 500 event audit and a whole host of other features that we're going to cover through the rest of this presentation. The lock body hasn't mechanically changed for the GARD 700 series, and so it still uses the same Euro profile mounting template. The keypad is a very modern and clean design. It's kind of got that smartphone feel to it, but it's got a really nice click to the buttons and it feels very robust and solid. The keypad is available at the 701 and 702 levels without a display, and at the higher 703 and above levels it's got a lovely OLED display which is really clear. The lock system has really good user feedback. There are red flashes, green flashes, short beeps, long beeps, high beeps and low beeps, and whilst that might seem like it's quite a lot to interpret, it's actually really intuitive. Something you may be familiar with more advanced lock systems is that the code is comprised of an ID and a 6-digit code, like the Supra for example. That's what they've done with 700 series, and we think it's great because it makes it really easy to manage. The code structure comprises an ID plus 6 digits, and those 6 digits can actually be changed using the keypad to either be 6, 7, 8 or 9 digits. The lock hierarchy is fixed. The master has overall administrative control and manages the manager and users and can perform every function on the lock except for opening it. The manager is able to open and can manage users and also perform other functions like amending time delay values, and the users can only open the lock and change their own code, but with 700 series it's possible to configure users so that they can also override time delay and take audit if required. Hopefully this diagram makes the structure clear. So with the current GARD range, there are quite a few aspects of the lock system that require software to be changed, so the lock has to be reset completely, which wipes the codes, and reprogram using software to enable certain functions and features. With the 700 series, they've provided a lot of keypad control, which is fantastic because it means that users can change how the lock operates just using the keypad. So one of the things I mentioned a moment ago is that users can be profiled to have time delay override privilege. This is completely configurable per user using the keypad. So you can have a range of users or just one individual user. You're not restricted to just one user ID, and you can change that privilege at any time using the keypad. With 700 you can also toggle dual mode on and off, which we think is really great because there are several other lock systems on the market that can do this. Using the keypad with the master code you can go in and you can say I want the lock to operate on dual mode plus manager, or just on single mode. The alarm signals are also configurable using the keypad, so you have your fixed duress output which you can switch on or off, but you also have an input and you can specify whether you want that input to block the lock system from operating, to override time delay, or to override dual mode if it's operating. And finally, you can reset and set up the locks using the keypad and the master code. It's a really quick and simple process to set the lock up using the keypad so that it's operating straight away. You do need the software if audit's particularly important for the lock system, so I'll explain that in just a moment. So all of those keypad control features mean that potentially we've lost service opportunities with the lock system, but we believe that 700 presents further service opportunities that didn't exist before. And the first one is the master code. Because it can manage the manager, it might be more appropriate in most situations for a service company to hold the master code rather than the site to hold it to prevent unauthorised users making changes to the lock system. The audit kit is relatively expensive, and so this may be a service opportunity if customers don't want to invest in the software. If they only need an audit periodically, they can just call out a company to audit the lock system for them. So another service opportunity is the fact that you can update the firmware using the software, and we think this is fantastic. 700 is one of the first lock systems to actually allow users to do this, and it's really great. I've actually done this once already. When the locks first came to us, you couldn't configure alarm signals through the keypad. I downloaded the firmware update, sent it through to the lock system, and then I was able to change how the alarm functioned just using the keypad, which was fantastic. It means that if there are bug fixes or if there are any new features, service companies can go out to the lock system and actually update the firmware in the field. So another service opportunity is the fact that you can physically reset the locks. So whilst you can reset them with the master code, you can also use a reset box and go out and reset locks in the field. You don't have to send them back to the manufacturer, and we're really pleased that they've kept this. And whilst they have created a new reset box, the old one, the old GARD reset box, the 6066, is still compatible. I mentioned before that the software is relatively expensive. The software kit retails for about £270, and that comprises the license, a USB interface and a cable. The software is licensed and it's only valid for installation on one PC. The software is needed to take audit and to program the time lock values for the 704 and 705 models. Sorry to get into a little bit of technical detail here, but we wanted to be quite clear about how the clock works in the 700 series. It's like the analog clock on your wall. It keeps time and date for you on the UTC, that's Universal Time Coordinated Principle, which luckily for us here in the UK is equal to Greenwich Mean Time. If there is a power loss for more than about 30 minutes, the time and date in the lock system does reset, and so it's quite important to make sure that batteries are changed very quickly. It also means that when we ship the locks out, we can't ship them connected to power, and so one of the first jobs on commissioning after installation is to actually set the date and time using the keypad. This is a really simple procedure and it can be done very quickly. Making sure that the time in the lock system is accurate is important for the audit, because obviously the audit is stamped with the time and date as the keypad perceives it. So if it's not been set correctly, then the audit won't show accurate information. Obviously this is only important if audit is integral to a customer's setup, but you can see here in this audit example, the pink highlight is where I lost power for 30 minutes. You can see in the yellow highlight where I actually set the date and time using the keypad. And with the green highlight, you can see where I gave DST settings to the lock system. Now, when we program the lock systems, we'll provide UK DST settings. If the lock is reset in the field, it needs to be reprogrammed, partly using the software to ensure that the DST data is correct in the lock system. But again, that's only important if audit is integral to the customer's situation. So whilst we appreciate this might not be ideal for engineers, it makes the lock system very secure for the end customer. 700 series locks and keypads are paired together as part of the setup process. One keypad goes with one lock, and if you try to swap a keypad, you'll get an error message. It is, however, possible to very easily unpair the keypad and the lock using either the master code, manager code, or a valid opening code. The communication between the lock and the keypad is digital and it's encrypted to 128-bit encryption, which makes it very secure. This means that it's resistant to devices like the black box and the Phoenix. The fact that 700 series has updatable firmware is fantastic as well, because it means that if there are any new methods devised by either the very smart safe engineers or the criminals, the manufacturer can respond with firmware updates. There's an optional backlight from the 702 lock and above. The default condition is that it's turned off, and obviously it can use a little bit more battery, but it could be very useful in low light areas, and it's a very quick keypad procedure to turn it on. Also, using the keypad, you can silence the keypad beeps, which depending on your outlook is either more secure because the criminals can't hear when you're opening your safe, or less secure because you can't hear when the criminals are trying to open your safe. So that kind of depends on the outlook. But what it does show is the amount of flexibility that you have with the lock system using the keypad. So here's a quick video showing the battery change. You can see there that it houses two 9-volt batteries, and the battery change is really simple. It's very easy to take those batteries in and out and slide the keypad tray back in again. It obviously does give approximately twice the amount of usage you would have had from one 9-volt battery in previous GARD lock systems. With the current GARD range, because there's no display, you have to follow command processes to do things like changing code or adding users. So you enter your code, hold down the last digit for 2 sets of double beeps, and then press a command digit to say what you want to do. As you can see from the screen, that has changed with the 700 series to using hash commands. No eye rolling, please. It's very logical and very organised, and each process is very straightforward, and it contains the hash command, a code to authenticate, a setting or two, and then press enter to confirm. So for example, if you were changing code, you press hash 52, enter the old code once, enter the new code twice, and press enter. It's that simple and straightforward. One of the things that we've done though is that we've taken the 56-page user manual and we've condensed it down into a quick reference guide, so you've got every possible command here just on this 2-page sheet, and that's going to be available on our website. So a feature that may not be that well received is the fact that when you first add a new user, that code is not valid to open the lock until it has been changed. So it's forcing users to change the code. This is something that we're actually expecting to become part of the EN 1300 standard, and so potentially most manufacturers are going to have to go down this route eventually. And we actually think it's really good. It's more secure. It's forcing users to use a code that is known only to them, that they have chosen, and it's much better security. So we're on to the big one, the price. I've just spent a bit of time telling you about how fantastic 700 series is, how the 702 lock is basically 39E, 66E and Supra all rolled into one. Therefore, it's going to be more expensive, right? No, the 702 lock system is going to be at the 39E end of the pricing scale. Dormakaba have worked really hard to make sure that the lock system price is competitive, and we're really pleased with what they've done. The 704 lock system, which is, as we said before, comparable to a TL11, is actually cheaper than a TL11. An upgrade or upsell option is for customers to get the 703 model instead of the 702, which is about another £77 RRP. And this obviously gives them that lovely OLED screen so they can see what they're doing, and it's a bit easier for them to use the lock system. So, as you might have been able to tell, we really love the 700 series, particularly the 702 lock. We think they've done a really good job. So we are trying to promote and support this product by providing resources for our customers. We've already done several videos, things like how to install the lock system, how to change your code, how to swap the keypad out. We're writing instructions for the 702, so there'll be kind of a standard operating day-to-day instructions for day-to-day users, and then an advanced version for master users and for engineers to keep it all nice and simple. We've got that quick reference guide as well, and obviously we're going to provide training to those customers that require it as and when, but hopefully the videos will cover off a lot of things. So I'm just going to show you a quick video of how to open the lock system, and hopefully it'll give you a bit of a feel for it and how it works. Hi, I'm Jasmine at Safe Lock Systems, and this video shows the process to open a GARD 700 series safe lock. If the safe has a secondary lock, such as a key lock, it may be necessary to open that first before opening the electronic lock. The physical action of actually opening the lock is different depending on the bolt type. If it's a swing bolt, then a handle is turned, and if it's a deadbolt or a latch bolt, then the keypad itself is turned, and we'll see that in just a moment. So we're mainly looking at the signals from the lock itself. The process to open is enter a valid code, wait for the signal to open the lock. The signal to open is 3 green flashes with 3 beeps. So we'll see that now on this 702 swing bolt lock. Normally we'd turn a handle once the code is entered, but because it's on a display board, I'm just going to open the bolt manually. And here it is on a 703 deadbolt lock where we turn the keypad, but we also see that the lock can be opened on the display. To secure the safe, reverse all the motions that were used to open it. So I think that's it from me. Thank you very much for your time in listening. Please feel free to send through any questions and keep an eye out on our website, safelocksystems.co.uk, because we're going to be putting up more and more information as we collate it. We're hoping to run a webinar for any members of the Master Locksmiths Association, so that'll be an opportunity for any questions. And we will be with Dawn Macabre exhibiting at the MLA Expo 21 at the end of October, and we are just focusing on 700 series, so we'll have plenty of samples there for you to come and have a play with. Unfortunately, we don't have a confirmed date for stock availability just yet. We're still waiting for the EN 1300 certification to be finalised, but don't worry, as soon as we know, you will. Please feel free to give us a shout. We'd love to come and visit you to show you the lock in person in due course. So thank you very much again, and I hope you look forward to getting a 700 series lock.